Hi, my name is Kristen Tschida, and I just want to invite you on a journey with me through the book of Exodus. I'm going to be taking one chapter a day, and what I'm really doing is I want to encourage you to read through the book of Exodus along with me, and I'm just going to pull out one little nugget from each chapter and just share it, and then just challenge you with a question that you can just bring before the Lord, or maybe a prayer point that you can take with you for that day. It's going to be short. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Exodus is my absolute favorite book, although I feel like I say that about most of them. But I love Moses. I love his character. I love how he grows in relationship with God, how he develops really a faith history with God, and how he learns his nature, learns his character. And we'll just kind of examine through our reading how he grows in relationship with God, but also how we can grow in our relationship with God. So today is Exodus chapter 1. So I encourage you just to read that. And it starts out with where we end in Genesis 50 is where Joseph's family now has come to Egypt to live with Joseph. So 70 people in all have come to live with Joseph and his family in the land of Egypt. And that's where we really start. So it's very much introducing something new. And it's actually the last time in Exodus 1 when the very first verse lists all the sons of Jacob. It's the last time we see those sons listed as part of an immediate family. And Israelites as a nation begins fresh and new in the book of Exodus. But what I want to pull out today, and this is my challenge to you, I want to challenge you with praying for those in your generational line out of verse 7. So in chapter 1 of Exodus, verse 7, it says, "But the Israelites were exceedingly fruitful. They multiplied greatly, increased in numbers, and became so numerous that the land was filled with them." So what I really want to encourage you to do, as I have done and continue to do, as I have a prayer journal for my family, and I just pray certain things. But what we see in verse 7 is this lineage, this history now of Jacob's family, and they have now multiplied. They've become exceedingly fruitful, and they have increased in number. And so I want you to think more of your own immediate family. I think sometimes, especially when we're raising kids, we can get really focused on kind of the here and now, the present of it's my husband and I, and for us, our 3 children. And what I want to challenge you to do is look longer. So think long. I want to encourage you to have I call it 100-year vision, so that you are thinking about the generations that will come forth. In our family now, one of our daughters two of our daughters are married, but one of our daughters, her and her husband have 2 little children. So we are now grandparents, and we've begun a lineage from Greg and I in our line. We are now growing our legacy. And so what I've been praying is this for the generations to come forth from our lineage, that the Tschidas, not the Israelites, the Tschidas are exceedingly fruitful, and they multiply greatly, and our numbers increase, and we become numerous in the land in which we're living. So as we just think about the generations to come forth, the legacy that you are leaving to your children and your children's children and your children's children's children, and so on and so forth, begin to pray this and ask God to just give you this desire to dream into the vision of the generations to come forth from your line. And we want to fill the earth with those who know God, who hear his voice, who walk with him. So that's part of the fruitfulness that would come forth in the generations to come from us and to come from you. Then the next thing I want to encourage you to pray, and I want to encourage you to pray for those who, before I say that, in this verse 7, I also want to encourage you that if you have friends, or maybe even in your family, there are people that are struggling with infertility or aren't giving birth in getting pregnant in the way that they desire. You can take this and claim it for your family to grow, to be fruitful, to multiply, and to be increased. I use this when I'm praying for young couples who are desiring to have children who have not been able to conceive yet. I use this to pray for them. So that's another way to use this little scripture. And then when I have friends that are pregnant going into labor, I use verse 19 out of chapter 1. So I want to encourage you as well to do that same thing. And it's when Pharaoh has told the midwives, it's a very tumultuous time in the Hebrew nation's history, their beginning. And Pharaoh has told the Hebrew midwives to kill any of the Hebrew baby boys that are born to them. And the response, because these babies are born and they're alive, and Pharaoh confronts them, and they say to him, verse 19, the midwives answered Pharaoh, Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They're vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive. So when I have friends that go into labor, I take this scripture and I pray it for them. God, I thank you that my friend is vigorous and she gives birth quickly. She gives birth in a timely way, that labor does not take long, that there is not a lot of pain in labor. And I continue just to kind of, unfold that a little longer, add a few more little adjectives and verbs in there. But this scripture I have used a number of times in praying for my own daughter when she was pregnant, and then some of my young friends that I have. So that's my encouragement out of Exodus 1. There is so much. I could spend every day for probably a year or more going through just chapter 1. So be encouraged, read through Exodus 1, and the next time I see you, I'll be in Exodus 2, giving a little exhortation of what to write about in your journal and have a conversation with God about, or something to just take in your prayer closet and pray it out. Use your words. Pray out loud so that everything in the atmosphere is affected by the words that you speak. All right, until next time.